Hello, everybody. Nobody here yet. I'm kind of not very surprised because I didn't really. I think I mentioned this in this particular stream in passing. Didn't really mention it in detail that I was going to be doing one, but pretty much y'all should know by now that I do a stream every Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central Time. Unless I say there isn't going to be one, assume that there is. Is pretty much what I'd suggest is the rule. Y64 Studio, that's my good friend Rainer over in Germany. He is here, and Peter is here as well. He says, oh yeah, oh yeah. Couldn't agree more with that. So I've just arrived. I'm actually running a little bit late, folks, so I do apologize. Yeah, it's been a long day, and I didn't actually get in the door until maybe about an hour ago. So I've just eaten my very late dinner. And I've come in here to talk to you guys. So Miles McGonagall is here as well. And he says, hello. Hello. Hello to you too. So picture quality might not be very good. In fact, the general quality of the stream might be worse than usual because of the weather that we're having here. It is currently outside minus 11 degrees centigrade, which is extremely cold. And we have the heating on here, but it's still cold. So all of the cold and the ice that is around is making internet run very slowly. So I apologize if it is worse than normal, and if it is unbearable for you to watch, then feel free to just drop me a comment and say that it's not really watchable, and that's fine. We'll just end the stream early. I don't mind that because it is more to do with the weather than anything else. Beatrice Gibbery is here. And she says, hello, guys. Hello. Yes, we're starting to filter into the room now. We've got, what, 8, 9 people here now, which is very cool. Considering I didn't really advertise this. I normally put, like, some kind of notice up, and I forgot. Let's get the piano on just in case we need it. Stephen Greenwood is here. He says, hello, all. That's awesome. So we've got 9 people here. I don't know if my new subscribers that I have acquired this week are going to come on at all, but if you are a new subscriber, I want to give you a very big thank you for subscribing, and I want to say a big hello as well. And Rainer says Cologne is white. I don't know why that's been flagged. But there we go. Cologne is white. Yes, you guys have got lots of snow as well. Most of the snow in the UK is down in England. So London has quite a lot. The Midlands of England has quite a lot. So kind of places like Birmingham, Liverpool, Manchester, they have some. Parts of West Yorkshire has a lot of snow. Glasgow, across the way in West Scotland, has some snow as well, and other parts of the central belt of Scotland, like in the other Lothians, like West Lothian in particular, they have lots of snow, but Edinburgh has none. It's just very, very icy and very, very cold. That's all we've got here. But that's what you get when you're a coastal city and you're on the North Sea coast. So John Wilkins is here. He says, I love the piano examples. Well, that's cool. I do like to play for you guys, which we're obviously not hearing now because I have the speakers muted, but if I unmute it, there we go. I do like to do that, but unfortunately it bleeds back into the mic a bit, so we get some phasing issues. So if I'm going to do piano examples, the headphones will have to go on. But we can do that. That's fine. So how are we all, folks? I hope we're doing well. We've got 11, 12 people coming in now, which is great for a completely unannounced, unplanned, unprepared Q&A session, which is what my Sundays tend to be all about. I sat in for Johnny this week, and yesterday I did another completely unplanned stream with Dave where we were looking at the Waves Maserati plugins that he's just picked up in the Waves sale. I think he got the whole lot for like $60, which is very, very, very good price. And so we kind of had a little tinker around with those and kind of chucked them on some tracks to see what they were like. And yeah, I think we both kind of like them. They're really good if you're at that place where you're still a little uncertain about things like EQ and compression and handling reverb and delay, and you're just getting your feet wet with mixing. Then you know what, the CLA bundle and the Tony Maserati mixdown plugins are just what you need. The CLA mixdown plugins are really, really good. The Maserati ones are not too bad. I would say if I were to put the two next to each other and do a shootout with them, I would probably say that the CLA ones have their noses in front. I would say it would be 1-0 to the Lord of the Mix, I would suggest, because they're very good. Just Bob is here. He says, hello, Johnny. Happy Sunday. And Woodbeast is here, and he says, hello, Jonny Lipsham fans. You know what? I still can't get over the fact I have fans. It's ridiculous. I suppose as a performing musician, when I had my soul and funk band, we had fans. So yeah. But yeah, kind of like not being on performing on a stage and just talking to a camera. I'm amazed I have fans for that. But I do, and it's great. I love it. I love coming on and doing these live streams, and I love answering your questions and helping you guys just kind of grow and expand your mixing and mastering and songwriting and all of that. I love helping you with things that you're kind of stuck with and areas that you want to grow in. And I just had a notification of a new subscriber, Mr. Landy Berkland, I think that is. I don't know if he's going to come on the stream. If you are Landy, please say hello. If you're here, please say hello in the chat, and we'd all like to say hello back, and so that would be cool. Frank Seracino is here. He says, you've got the Phil Collins thing going on. Do you prefer the Phil Collins thing going on? Oh, you mean my hair? I've been losing I've had next to no hair for the last decade, mate. Do you prefer CLA over stock Studio One plugins? Good question. We are friends over on Facebook. That is correct, Landy, and I'm very glad you made it over to YouTube. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my live streaming abode. You will find that there is a whole bunch of videos on a whole bunch of mixing and mastering and songwriting subjects that are on the channel. You mean that as a compliment, Frank? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, my hair has been thinning out for probably about the last 10, 12 years. And it's at a point now where if I just don't cut it, this is kind of what happens. So Rainer says, Keith Baker yesterday sent a huge promo in Presonus group for Presonus, nearly all 11 pack for around $19. Oh, right. No, I hadn't seen that. Yesterday was just a stupidly busy day for me yesterday, so I didn't really get any time on Facebook at all. So I'm afraid I missed that. Wibby says, JL, talk about how to resolve audio in Studio One. How to resolve audio in Studio One. That's a very broad subject. I'm not quite sure what you mean about resolving audio in Studio One. JL, is it a solar panel? What, my head? No, it's a sniper's. This is target practice for a blind sniper. Landy asks, do you use Mac or PC for your live stream? I use a PC. I have a PC built by a UK based company called Scan Computers UK. I found them actually online through Presonus's UK distributors called Source Distribution. And Scan actually occasionally they do some broadcasts, some webcasts of their own where they promote Presonus products. Like, for example, when Studio One 3.0 released in 2015, Scan did their own webcast with Lee Boylan from Presonus, who is based over in Dublin, which is, funnily enough, where Russ Hughes from Studio One Expert, he is also based over there. And so those two guys came over and they did their own little webcast looking at Studio One. So Studio One version 3 when that launched. So that was cool. Deirdre says, no, you actually look like him. Can you feel it coming? Oh, dear God. Yeah, I think, yeah, Phil has a beard and Phil doesn't have a beard and I do. Skip says, wubba lubba dub dub y'all. Skip, that's a brilliant greeting. I love it. I love it. That's great. And T-Bone Beats is here. I do believe you're one of my new subscribers as well, Mr. T-Bone. Welcome. Whitby says, Skip, is there a resolve audio in Studio One when I've seen a chain link icon? Ah, the chain link icon. That is where several, if you see that chain link icon on an audio event, it's because that audio event is made up of merged events. So there are audio events that are linked to that particular audio event, which is why when that happens, you can't do fade ins, fade outs, or adjust the clip gain. I believe that is what those chain link icons are all about. So yes, if you get audio tracks sent to you and they have those little chain links, it's because whoever sent you them, instead of doing a Control B, has actually done a merge of the events to create the stem. And that means we can't really do anything with a merged event, unfortunately. Landy says, I'm trying to do what you do through my studio live. I'm in the USA. Well, you know what? You guys in the USA actually have better broadband than we have here. So you should actually be in a better position to be able to do live streaming, because you guys have much faster upload speeds than we do here. Because in the UK here, we focus so much on download speeds, which is what really vendors promote. They promote how fast they download from internet servers. That really we kind of forgot about the importance of uploading. You know, when actually more and more people are actually uploading their own content to places like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all of that. You know, it takes a while from your computer to upload, generally speaking, in the UK. There are some parts of the UK where that's not the case, like where you've got access to fiber optic broadband. Skip says, broadband should not be measured in carrier pigeons. I could not agree more. I totally agree. You're absolutely right. However, it is what it is, especially in Scotland, actually. Scotland has some of the worst internet in the UK, and that's partly because we have lots of mountains and that kind of thing. So we have lots of very remote communities. Some don't even have electricity yet in 2017. Some have only just got color television in 2017. So, you know, but I mean, places like Edinburgh and Glasgow and Inverness and Dundee and places like that and Aberdeen, you know, really broadband speeds should be much better than they are. But I'm not going to whine about that anymore because you guys will leave very quickly. So we've got 18 people here, and that is very cool. Whitby says, is there a way to resolve that, referring to those linked, merged events? I have to say, I've not found one. You could try selecting the event and doing Control B, but I'm not sure that that's going to help, because the event itself is made up of other merged events. So it might not unlink that way, but you could certainly try it. Otherwise, I think you might need to go back to the source material and unmerge those events. Unmerge. I'm sure that's a real word, but basically get those events to disassociate themselves from each other, and then do Control B on those original events to create a new stem, and then import that back in. That might be your only method, I'm afraid. Would be says Pat bounce. You mean? Yes, I think that's what we're talking about. John Wilkins says satellites don't even bother flying over JL's town. Well, they do actually. We do. I mean, we do get access to satellite tele here. But yeah, I mean, broadband still tends to be down the line rather than be that fiber optic or just regular copper broadband. Peter says, anyone else experienced the picture and audio being far out of sync? Well, I'm sorry if that's the case, actually. It might be. And it might be, as I said at the top of the show, Peter, that my internet is just being a lot slower than normal tonight because of the weather. Because we have extreme cold here, and I'm one of those people that has, regular phone line broadband. And so the result of that is that when they get cold, they don't perform nearly as well. So it could be that my broadband speed is low. In fact, I can do a speed test. Let's do a speed test whilst we're on this broadcast. Let's do it. Let me connect my phone to the Wi-Fi network. And let's see if we can do it. Let's go into here. And let's see what the speed is going to be like. I don't think it's going to be very fast. Okay, let's do that. Let's press that button there. Oh, I've just done that. Okay. Ignore. All right, let's go back. Check speed. Here we go. Let's see what the speed is. Okay, my upload speed is... Yeah, Peter, it could have been something at your end. It's entirely possible. Upload speed is 8 megs a second. Download speed, is 8 megs a second. Current upload speed is 930 kilobits per second. Pat says, receiving you as normal here in Chester. Chester? I didn't know you lived in Chester, Pat. That's awesome. My mother went to school in Chester. She lived there for quite a lot of years. Oh, did we lose picture there for a second? We might have done. I think we're back now, though. Deirdre says, just breaks in the connection, but it is otherwise good. Yes, we might get that occasionally. And providing there are only breaks for like a second or two, will be okay. But yeah, this might be a very short live stream, folks. If it's unwatchable. But if you guys want me to carry on, then please say so in the chat, and I'll just keep going until it becomes unwatchable. And you guys will need to tell me what it's like at your end. If it becomes unwatchable, then you'll need to tell me, please. Yeah, Frank says if you turn off all Wi-Fi devices like the phone, it would increase speed slightly. Yeah, well, I only just connected my phone just now, but I can turn that up, disconnect that from the network. There we go. That's that. That might help a little bit. Yes, please continue. It's okay. 1 after 9:09. I think that's right. It says, hi, JL. A very good evening to you, or good morning, as it is here. I hope you're well. We've just got started, really. We're about 18 minutes in. So if you guys want me to carry on, because I am aware that picture quality, audio quality is not great tonight because of the weather. Yeah, then please just start tapping in your questions to do with all things recording, mixing, mastering, songwriting, all that kind of fun stuff that we talk about. I'm happy to help you with your questions. We've talked a little bit about resolving some audio issues with merged events, but let's see what else you guys have got. There is maybe a 15-second delay on the chat, so you need to type quick. And whilst you are typing, I'm going to grab a cup of tea. Just Bob says, over here in Chicago, it's streaming pretty well. Mine are glitching 27 degrees. Ooh, that's very cold. Yeah, you guys have got snow on the ground. I know that because my sister lives in Chicago as well. Peter says, when comping the perfect take, do you export your takes to layers or tracks, and why? That is a great question. I don't do that with everything, but I'll say if I have a guest soloist in and they are doing their solo section in a song, then what I tend to do is I tend to set up so that it records takes to layers, because when it's layers in Studio One version 3, it's just dead easy to grab a phrase from take 1, grab a phrase from take 4, grab a phrase from take 5, and just build basically the ideal solo out of several different phrases from several different takes. And sometimes you might find a phrase that works really, really well, but maybe the note before the note leading from one phrase into another doesn't really sound right. So you maybe need to adjust the pitch a little bit, and you can do that with Melodyne. So, you can basically create the perfect guitar solo or the perfect saxophone solo, and just, change a note here, change a note there, so that the line is a little bit more seamless harmonically. That's what I tend to do. But when it comes to like recording, piano parts or recording a bass part or doing my vocal takes, I do not use layers. I tend to just decide in the moment whether I like what I've done when I hear it back. I will do a take, I'll listen to the take all the way back, and I'll go, no, don't like that, and I'll cut it, and I'll just replace. Let's see. That was Peter's good question. One After 909 says, are the Studio One eBass add-ons the same sounds that come in Studio One Pro? I don't think they are. I think they are a separate add-on. And they are actually really, really good samples. If you're going to purchase those, you are going to get yourself a very nice set of bass samples. But a little word of advice, particularly when you're using really high quality samples of an instrument of any kind, when you're recording that track for that instrument, you need to kind of put yourself in a position of actually playing that instrument. So you need to think like a bass player a little bit, or if it's drums, like Easy Drummer or something like that. Again, you need to think like a drummer. Would this drum fill be playable? Because the things that are going to show up a virtual instrument as being obviously a virtual instrument the most is if you write inappropriately for that instrument. Like if you're writing let's say you're writing a trumpet part, and literally there are no rests, there are no pauses in the line that you're writing, well, then it's obviously going to be received to the ear as a virtual instrument, because unless you are really, really good at circular breathing, and some people are, Wynton Marsalis springs to mind as a trumpet player who's extremely good at circular breathing, most oftentimes a trumpet player is going to breathe. So advice, if you are writing something that is a blown instrument, it's a virtual instrument like a saxophone, a trumpet, a trombone, a flute, a clarinet, a bass clarinet, a bassoon, anything that is blown, a woodwind instrument, a brass instrument, breathe as you play the phrase. That way, when you run out of breath, you stop playing. And that should give you more consistently accurate phrasing in your part. So I hope that helps. Skip Command B is the unlinked commands. Command B is the bounce command. Pat says, where would you put a VU meter on the mix bus? Insert or post? You can actually put it in both slots. I was talking with Dave Vignola about this last night. One thing you can do is you could, if you so chose, you could put a VU meter at the very top of your insert chain on the mix bus so that you are measuring input at the start of the chain of your mix bus, but then you could put another one after whatever you put in the post section and the post fader section of your mix bus at the end of that section. That way you're able to keep an eye on input going in and output going out to your speakers. That might be a cool little way to use the VU meters. Now, obviously, you're going to get different readings because one is inputting before the effects chain and before the fader. And the other one on the post fader section is going to be after the limiter and also after the fader. So you're going to get different measurements. So you need to be clear in your mind about what you are looking for, what information you want that VU meter to tell you. And you could do that, definitely. Let's see. Just Bob asked, to fatten up a thin vocal track, is it better to double the track or use EQ and other plugins to build up the sound? Personally, if I want to thicken a vocal track, I will not just double the track, I will maybe triple or even quadruple the track. And then what I'm doing there is I would maybe use some EQ and some compression techniques. Like on some of those vocal takes, I might roll off everything below 400, so a really high pass filter. And then on the others, I might boost a little bit in that area as well. And then I might use some different compression techniques. So I might really parallel, maybe parallel compress maybe 2 of those tracks and then not compress the others as much. So maybe just grabbing the peaks, maybe. Those are things you can experiment with and see how you get on with those. That might lead to a fatter, fuller sounding vocal. And of course, you could always use another thing you could do is you could use the splitter function and put a delay on one side of the split. And then so that you have, just one side of your split being affected by delay, which means that you'll get a better a sense of more width stereo-wise. That might be a cool thing to do as well. Stephen Greenwood says, I've used headphones for years as a professional drummer. Me too. And I'm having issues adjusting to monitors for mixing. Is it frowned upon to mainly use phones for mixing, as that is what I'm used to? My opinion, no. But you have to use the right kind of headphones to do it. Generally speaking, there are 2 types of headphones, and I'm going to show you both. Okay, what I'm going to show you here is this is a pair of Technics closed back headphones. These are perfect for tracking. So when you're tracking your drums, you need to have closed back headphones. They're closed back because the audio does not escape from the sides here, okay? And what these do is these mean that you don't get any bleed into your mics from your headphones, because generally speaking, if you're tracking drums and you're the drummer, you're going to have these cranked pretty loud. You don't want them bleeding into your mics, because when you start adding compression or even parallel compression, it's going to increase the noise of these suckers. So this is what you want. These, as you can see, are extremely elderly. I've had these for 30 years. These are my only headphones I've ever used for tracking any instrument, including drums. These are my personal faves. For mixing, you want a pair of these. These are open back. As you can see, they've got little holes here all around. Some of them, like the Sennheiser HD 650s, have like a completely open mesh on the backs. These are open backs, and these are great for mixing on because you get a much more balanced bass response and an overall flatter frequency response than you would from closed back headphones. So mixing on headphones for me is not a bad thing. But a word on mixing on monitors, you will get used to it. It'll take you a wee bit of time, but you will get used to it. It's just, it's just one of those things. When you're doing something a lot, it becomes habitual. And then when you change up that routine to accommodate, a new way of doing things, it takes a little while to adjust to it. But you will get through that. You will get through that adjustment. And what I would suggest is that you use these guys to reference on. So if you're mixing on monitors, be regularly every, 20 minutes of your mix. Stick these on and listen all the way through. Don't touch faders, don't touch EQs, don't touch compressors, don't touch nothing. Just sit and listen to the whole song all the way through with these on and make some notes. And then compare what you hear through these with what you hear through your monitors. And then you can make adjustments accordingly. And you should end up with a really good, really balanced mix. And John Wilkins deleted his post. Barrington Bennett is here. Good to see you, Barrington. Welcome to the show. We've got 19 people here. Frank Cerasino asks, do you ever normalize tracks? It's a highly debated subject. It is. There are very few occasions where I would. Let me think. If I'm doing a voiceover for a podcast or something where it's literally just talking into the mic like I'm talking to you guys right now, I might normalize it. And then I might add a little bit of EQ, and I would probably compress just a little bit or limit a little bit. I'd maybe use a limiter rather than a compressor to get that kind of broadcast kind of sound. And that would be just about that on that subject, I think. And yes, it is a highly debated subject. You see, some people use normalizing as a gain staging technique. And I really don't see anything wrong with that. That's just not the way I do it. You can, if you're in a hurry and you're in a pinch, you've got to get the mix done quickly, then yes, you can use normalize. Excuse me. I hope you didn't hear that. I really hope you didn't hear that. I won't say which orifice that came out of. As I was talking through this one, you've probably guessed already. So normalizing you can use for gain staging if you're in a hurry. You can just use the normalize and you can set it to -12 and you can pull everything down to -12 in an instant. But for me, you're then still going to go through because you might have tracks recorded at very different levels and you're still going to have to tweak everything until everything is exactly -12. So normalizing doesn't automatically set things level. All normalizing does is turn the volume up to almost clipping. That's all it does, and then you can pull the gain down after that point. Bob asks, would this be on the tracks or over your sends? Oh, for the double, triple, quadruple tracking thing. That's what you're talking about, isn't it? Yeah, I would set up. I would do maybe 4 or 5 passes, 4 or 5 takes, aiming to sing as close to the last take each time, so that each take is as close to accurate as I can get it. And then I would do some of that EQ, some of that complementary EQ, some of that complementary compression on the tracks, and then I bust them all to a bus where I would do a little bit of overall shaping with EQ and compression. Is probably what I would do. Skip says morning breeze. Yeah, except it is the morning. Good obs there. Let's see, what else do we have? Skip says, this, guys, is good info on types of cans and mixing and tracking application. Yes, thank you very much. Low End says, wow, I thought it was the opposite. I just ordered 2 pairs of closed backs. Yeah, closed backs are for tracking, open backs are for mixing. Is the general. If there are any rules in audio, that's kind of one of them. That said, though, I'm a complete lazy git, and for the most part, I will mix and track on these. But really, if I'm singing, I'm not having these up very loud anyway. You know, and I've checked. I always check. You know, I listen back to the vocal take that I've just done and see if there's any bleed. And if there's like very, very low level bleed, you know what? Nobody's going to hear it. It's not going to be a problem. Peter asks, are there any headphones with clip-on back so you get both open and closed in one pair? I don't know about that, actually. You may have to do a little bit of Googling on that. And you may strike lucky. I don't think so, because I think open and closed are two completely different builds, as far as I know. But you never know. You might strike lucky and find that there's something that is interchangeable. So we have, let's see, 18 people watching, which is really good considering I basically posted up about 15 minutes before that I was going live. So you guys are good. Whoopi says headphone choice, great to know. Yep, I hope that helps. Okay, another tea break. Whilst you tap in some more questions. This is good. You guys are asking some really great questions. Frank asks, I know you can't disclose, but does PreSonus plan on improving how waveforms are displayed to be as nice as some other DAWs? You are quite correct, Frank. I cannot disclose. And therefore, unfortunately, I cannot answer your question. Whoopi's is talking to Skip. He says, would Flex Seal work for open backs? Good question. Rainer says there is half open, so you have the best of two worlds. That is correct. Yes, there are semi-open backs. And I guess these PreSonus HD7s are semi-open because they've only got little holes. They don't have like, you know, they're not like the Sennheiser HD 250s or 650s in that they've got like complete open mesh backs. These have got kind of like, they're sort of closed, but they're also sort of open as well. So I think these are semi-open. So you could use these for both. The PreSonus HD7s, they are very cheap. I got these for £30. So well worth picking up. £30 is going to be $50, I think. They're not much more than that. And you probably get a deal on them at sweetwater.com. Sweetwater are fantastic, but unfortunately, it's quite tricky to get anything from Sweetwater to the UK because its shipping is exorbitantly expensive. And Frank says, I tried. Yes. Unfortunately, Frank, I'm subject to a non-disclosure agreement with PreSonus. So future stuff I can't really talk about. As much as I would really love to. Because I have seen the future, and the future is extremely bright, as Skip will attest to, I am sure. Without breaking his NDA. Rainer says they are close to the AKG 240s. Yes, they are very, very similar to the AKG 240s. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if these are actually AKG 240s, but PreSonus branded. Would not be surprised at that. I could be completely wrong. They could be uniquely manufactured in the PreSonus factories. I don't know. Because I know that the MIDI controller keyboard that comes with the Creation Station, the PreSonus Creation Station, is made by another company, but it's just PreSonus branded. Skip has a smiley face because he knows he can't talk either. Sorry, Skip. So we got 19, 20 people in the room, and it is 40 minutes into the show. You guys got any more questions? I hope this stream is still watchable. I have actually, the last couple of streams I've done, I've had a real issue with quality, I'm afraid, folks. John Wilkins asks, is it true that Presonus is developing a steam-powered rocket? I'm afraid Scottish engineers got there before Presonus, I'm afraid, John. Just Bob says, Peter, Hi-Fi Man offers open close-back headphones. Hi-Fi Man Edition S open close-back. Foldable 18 ohms dynamic on-ear headphones. Oh, nice. Okay. And 1 after 909 says Presonus headphones are rebranded Superlux. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. There we go. Whippy says that is why we need to help JL get a plane ticket to the USA. Imagine JL and JG side by side. Yes, that would be awesome. That would be very cool if he and I could do an extended songwriting simplified on a Wednesday. Or we could just, if I'm there for a whole week, heck, we could just do a whole week of broadcasts together, just the two of us. That would be awesome. We could annoy Fred and Truckee. Skip says, I found using a close-back brackets. I use Sennheiser Pro 280s. DJ Star with one ear cup off works for me. That's cool. Yep. That is a well-known technique for recording, for sure. Skip says, I think we heard of the steam-powered Scottish rocket. Yes. I think you might have actually heard a little bit of steam coming out of the Scottish rocket during this broadcast. Peter says, tonight was the big Nobel Prize ceremony. A Norwegian guy was there and performed a concert on instruments completely made out of ice. That was cool. Who should win the Nobel Prize in music? That's a great question. I have to admit, this year I have not seen any of the nominees this year. I normally pay attention, but didn't. Sorry. Woodbeast says, donate to JL, guys. Thank you very much, Woodbeast. You are superlative in your promotion of this particular cause. So I thank you very sincerely, my friend. Stephen Greenwood says, ohm rating for running headsets out of the Studio Live 3 monitor outputs. That's a very good question. I would imagine that would be in the manual. I'm just not quite sure where in the manual, and I'll show you why. If I get my manual. Where's that sucker? Is this it? Yes. Yes, this is it. This is the Series 3 manual, folks. I have not opened it. I have not opened the Polly Pocket in which it's in. See, the serial number is on this bit of paper here, and I didn't even get the serial number out of the Polly Pocket to read it. That's how slack I am with reading manuals. So that is a great question, to which I don't know the answer. But anyway, I think this is really just a quick start. This is just a quick start guide. I don't know if there is a full manual or not. Skip might be able to help me out with that question. Is there a full-size, full-on manual, PDF or not PDF? I don't know. But this basically just gets you. This basically just gets you started. I don't know. So maybe Skip, if you'd be so kind as to answer that question, that would be very helpful. There's lots of pretty pictures in here. They're all in black and white, which is a little bit disappointing. But it's in French, Spanish, German, and English. And no, I don't really see much in here on the subject of headphones. I'll find out. And maybe Skip can help source an answer to that as well, because Skip is just a minefield of information. Speaking of whom, he says headphone output type 1/4-inch TRS female, active stereo, maximum output 100 milliwatts per channel, which is a 60 ohms load. There you go. 60 ohms. Let's see. Just Bob says start a GoFundMe page on your end, on your and Johnny's shows. That's a good idea. That's a good idea, actually. I might just do that. Just Bob says we'll get you over here. My sister, yeah, Woodbeast is pointing out to you there, Just Bob, that my sister is there. She stays in Chicago, or well, kind of on the southeastern suburbs of Chicago. And I've not seen her for 10 years because it's exorbitantly expensive to get over there for anything like a reasonable length of time. You know, flights are really expensive. It's about an 8-9 hour flight out from here. And I don't think I can fly directly from Edinburgh, as far as I know. I don't think. But yeah, it's really expensive to fly out. The cost of the actual ticket is really expensive, and then there's, you know, flight tax and all sorts of nonsense that you have to pay out as well. And then, of course, there's the exchange rate. The pound to the dollar is just not phenomenally good at the moment. So there you go. That's that story. Raina says that's the same closed I used too. Skip. Let's go. John says, damn shame they don't print the manual in Scottish. Well, you know what? It depends upon which form of Scottish that it takes. If they wrote it in Lowland Scots, which is the language of kind of the central belt of Scotland, and sort of areas like Dumfriesshire, Dumbartonshire, East Renfrewshire, and all the way, you know, from the west coast to the east coast, it would be replete with expletives, because, you know, that's part of our vernacular here. Or if it's in actual Gaelic, which is, you know, that's spoken more towards like the Highlands and Islands of Scotland, so right up the very north, about 9 hours drive from here, up to the northwesternmost point of Scotland, John O'Groats. They make fantastic whiskies there. They have a whiskey festival every year, and I used to go play there every year for their whiskey festival. I haven't done that in a few years now, but yeah, it's a 9-hour road trip. And they speak Gaelic up there quite a bit. Still less than 1% of the population of Scotland actually speak Gaelic. Skip says, oh, hang on a minute. Skip says, I'm fond of the ideal gas law. Skip says, what type of gas? Any gas included in the formula. Okay, thank you, Skip. That was informative, my friend. So we got 15 people in here now, so a few people have tuned out, which is a little bit of a shame. But that's okay. You know, this was kind of a Q&A session. John says, seriously, you'd think they print the manual in Cajun. That's an interesting point, right? For most Presonus products, there is a recipe for jambalaya or some kind of Cajun dish in the back. I've looked at the back of this. There isn't one. I'm gutted. This is what's on the back page. Don't know if you can see that very well. Not a single recipe in sight for Cajun food. Rick Nackvey, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm kidding. Whoever writes the manuals, sort it out, please. JW Embry is here. He says, hey, which is very nice. I'm glad you're here. So any more questions, folks? Because we've got about 12 minutes left. I'm going to have another swig of tea whilst you guys are typing. So far, you guys have asked some really, really cool questions. This is a good show. And I'm having lots of fun. And I have an incredibly itchy nose. Sorry, folks. Skip says the PDF has the recipe. Oh, really? That's a shame. Oh, I'll have to print it out then. I presume, Skip, that the PDF is a little bit thicker than this, right? More detail. I could be wrong. JW says, "Ooh, it has pictures." Yes, it does. And yes, as I say, I have not looked at my manual for my Studio Live yet. But so far, you know what? Without the manual, I'm doing pretty well with it. I'm getting my way around it, and actually, I've actually had quite a lot of help from Skip. Actually, Skip has been fantastic in helping me, get things done that are important, like firmware updates, that kind of stuff. Stuff that I'm just not very good at all. Don't really understand how it works or why it works. But Skip, you've been fantastic, so thank you for your help with that. Skip says yes, more detailed. What you're showing is the getting started kind of thing. Right? Yeah, that was the only thing that came, which is fine. Yeah, I think these days electronics products in general don't come with manuals anymore. They're just like, here's like 2 pages of pictures to get you started. And if you want the real manual, you have to download the PDF for it from our website. But before you do that, you have to give them your email address, and then they hit you with, targeted commercials. I'm not at all cynical. Just Bob says, have you ever converted individual tape track recordings to Studio One? And if so, how did it work out? That's a very good question. Actually, I have an ongoing project, which I've not really talked about. It's been ongoing for a couple of years. I have a back catalogue of music that dates back to the 1980s. And I'm basically spending quite a lot of time getting those off of, they're either on ADATs, or they're on just regular DATs, or they are on reel-to-reel tapes, master tapes. So I'm trying to get those into Studio One at the moment using whatever cabling I can get my hands on that'll get it to work. Mostly RCA cables. That seems to be the way that to do it. And I'm just running those outputs from whatever device it is. Either it's a 2-inch tape machine, or it's a DAT machine or an ADAT machine. I'm running the outputs into my audio box USB, and then printing a stereo track in real time. And they've worked pretty well where the tapes are in good condition. Where the tapes are in good condition, it actually sounds pretty good. And where they're in less than perfect condition, one of the things I'm doing is I'm using the Waves NS1 noise reduction plugin to just reduce some of the noise that's kind of been added to the tracks over the years. And that seems to be working quite well. There is a trade-off. You do lose a little bit of the top end when doing that. Kind of like you did with the old Dolby B, I think it was, where it basically just took off quite a bit of, it's like a low-pass filter. But it did get rid of the noise. But, there was a sacrifice that you have to make. So, yeah. Woodby says cheaper for PDF than to print. Yes, it is. I quite agree. And you know what? It's actually better for the environment. My dad is an ecological scientist, so really I should be keeping my studio carbon footprint as tiny as I can. So we got 16 people left in the room, and we have about 8 minutes left of the show. 9 minutes left. Yeah, 9 minutes left of the show. So I can take a few more questions, and then we will wrap this up. But you guys have asked some absolute belters today. John says, completely off topic, but interesting. Were you familiar with the Edinburgh band that played Woodstock? I read a member has been missing for quite a while. Which Edinburgh band would that be, John? I don't know. You'll have to help me out a little bit with some info there. But yes, there you go. Alrighty. Any mixing questions? Any mastering questions? Any songwriting questions? anything to do with weird harmony, negative harmony, positive harmony, reverse harmonics, odd harmonics, even harmonics. The Incredible String Band. I don't think I've ever heard of them, I have to admit. Stephen says, I keep losing saved scenes on my Studio Live 3. Yeah, I don't know about that, Stephen. I'm going to suggest that if you are a member of one of the Studio Live users' Facebook groups, that you post it there, because I know that some of the Presonus guys are in those groups and they might be able to help you better. Ruby says, what would be the perfect gift from the users? Oh, you mean what would be the perfect gift from you guys? Oh, man. That's a heck of a question. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've got this ambition to return to the United States, but I don't think that can be fixed over Christmas. But I don't know. I mean, at the moment, my YouTube channel is sitting with over 800 subscribers, which is great. Here's the thing. I was not intending to talk about this just yet, but since you bring it up with Beast, I'm going to make my very first mention of this. In January, I am going to be making some changes to my website, jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk. And here's what's going to happen. I am going to be adding to my website a VIP subscription. What this means is that some of the things that I kind of do on a regular basis at the moment that I've been basically trialing to see how well they work, things like some of my live streams, not all of them, some of them, and mixed critiques. I've done a few for. I've done some for Raina already. I've done one for Peter as well. I am going to bring those into. I mean, they'll still be available on an individual basis, but I'm going to make them specially available to my VIP subscriber community. There will be a monthly fee for it, but you will get a whole bunch of stuff, not just mixed critiques, not just a private live stream just for you guys, but you'll get access to stems of every release that I put out there, including last year's EP belonging to Tomorrow. So you can have the stems to each of the songs and you can mix them yourselves. And then there will be a private members area on my website where you can congregate, you can share your mixes, you can help each other, sharpen those up as iron sharpens iron. That's kind of like my idea for next year. So I've got a couple of people working on helping me work on developing that. And Skip says, maybe Jonny will let me assist. Absolutely, Skip. You are a big part of my plan, my friend. And I need to talk to you offline about that. But yes, there's going to be a monthly fee, which is going to be £12 per month. You can go and Google in what that is if you just type into the Google pound to dollar, and you should be able to do the correct exchange rate for that. So £12 per month, and the mixed critiques will be done via a live stream setting, much like this, except the difference will be that it'll be on a first come first serve basis. So at the start of the month, the first ones to get your mixes in will get reviewed in that month's show for mixed critiques. And hopefully that way, over the course of several months, everybody's mixes will get reviewed as you put them in. So yeah, so that's my plan to take my business forward in 2018, and it's going to be very, very cool. It's not something I've done before, but it's something I've put a lot of thought into doing. And I've talked to a good number of people. I've talked to my good friend Joe Gilder a little bit about it, and I've talked to a few other people about it who have suggested that, hey, this is the right thing to do. This is the way forward. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of services and stuff and content that's available just for the VIPs to have access to. A little bit like Learning to Mix, little tiny little bit like Learning to Mix. It's not going to be the same at all, but a little bit like that. That's a premium subscription membership, in the same way my VIP membership is going to be subscription premium, and you get access to me that you wouldn't ordinarily otherwise get anywhere else, and access to my help and support for your work. So so there you go. I've kind of put that out there, and it's going to be starting probably towards the end of January, because it's going to take a little bit more time than I thought to actually get it up and running. But as soon as I've got a date for launching it, we will have a live stream launch party, at which time I will have all the web link and everything else on that live stream, and you can just go and hit it if you want to subscribe. And that will be that. All right, so we are at 1 a.m., but whilst I've been babbling away there about my VIP subscription, you guys have been asking questions. So I'm going to just go and answer a couple of those. John Wilkinson, I keep calling you Wilkinson. It's not, it's Wilkins. John Wilkins says, I'd rather visit Edinburgh than Chicago. Well, you know what? I love both cities very dearly. They have a very, very dear place in my heart. Edinburgh, obviously, because this is my home, and I'm very passionately and patriotic about Scotland, and perhaps more so patriotic about Scotland's place in the United Kingdom, because I think Scotland is the heart of the United Kingdom. So yes, I'm very passionate about Edinburgh, but I'm also very passionate about Chicago because, you know, I've been there many, many times, and I have friends and family there. As I say, my sister is there. And so it's a beautiful city. I love it. And I would love to visit again sometime. And maybe I will. John Wilkins says, can you bring Johnny's sister with you? Can she cook Cajun? She might actually. I don't know. I've never asked her. Peter says, the help I've received from getting my mixes critiqued by Johnny is priceless. Well, thank you very much for that endorsement, Peter. I really appreciate it. Whippy says, John, not sure, man, but it would be cool to hook up with JL. Yes. Whippy's my friend. It would be fantastic to have you here. 1 after 909 says, have you tried Adobe Audition to clean up your old analog tapes? I have not. I don't have Adobe Audition. Let's see. Sorry, folks, my nose is really itchy for some reason. Peter says, deep dish pizza over haggis, Mr. Wilkins. Yeah, well, you know what? Not all Scots like haggis. I'm one of those that doesn't. It's an acquired taste. It really is. I really do like deep dish pizza. We have plenty of pizza houses in Scotland, and they're fantastic. Particularly in Edinburgh, we have loads of them. Raina says, that's great. I have to look what I can reduce for that. Okay. John says, www.pounds-to-dollars.co.uk. Yeah, that's a good place if you want to go and check out what 12 pounds is in dollars. Just Bob says, will part of the submitting of mixes be that you in turn remix as part of the critique and help us expand on ideas on how to mix? Not entirely. Kind of mixing your mixes or mixing your songs is kind of a separate service entirely. But VIPs will get discounts. I meant to say, actually, good point. Thank you. VIPs will get discounts on all of my services that are not included in the VIP package. So my mixing and mastering services, and a few others which I've not really thought about yet. But certainly mixing, mastering, and those kind of things you will get discounts for. Whoopi says, nice jail, having Skip will help. Yes, Skip is a legend. And Frank says he will definitely subscribe. Thank you very much. Frank is subscriber number 1. Awesome. And Stephen says, great idea. Whitby says, one clear picture of Nessie would solve it all. Well, yes, especially if I sold it to the media for ridiculous amounts of money. Nose itching may mean boogers. Possibly. John says, an itching nose means company is coming in my neck of the woods. Well, so long as that's good company and not bad company, like the tax man or the bailiffs. All right, folks, we are 5 minutes past 1 in the morning, and I'm running so horrendously late that I have things that I still have to do, which means I'm still going to be here at probably 3 o'clock in the morning, I would think. All right, folks, thank you so much for coming in tonight at short notice, and thank you so much for all the fantastic questions. You guys have asked me some buttes tonight. You guys are so good. And I really appreciate your questions and giving me something to talk about and some way in which I can help you, albeit it's a little bit low quality right now, but hopefully with a bit of help, a bit of ingenuity, we might actually be able to solve the problem. Who knows? At the moment, the only solution I can see is just moving house altogether to somewhere where we have fiber optic broadband. But that may not be in the cards for a little while yet. We may be looking at maybe this time next year, possibly. I'll keep you guys in on that. Nessie beats deep pan pizza. No. Deep pan pizza beats Nessie every day of the week. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming. And I'm going to see you all next time. Probably, actually, I will be on Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday. And I may well be on something with Dave in the week as well. I have yet to talk to him about that. But yeah, I'll let you know what is coming up and when it's coming up. So in the meantime, thanks a lot, folks. Bye for now.